let's just discuss the best player of last night. And who do you think stuck out to you, Patrick? Is that guy that just seemed like he stood out amongst the group?
I probably spoiled my answer earlier, but I just think it's Benedict Mathurin. He is just such a smooth wing, and he's close to shoot. He's about a 50, 45, 88% from shooting this year, and that's field goal, 3-point free throw percentages, which is for an 18, 19-year-old wing like Mathurin himself is super impressive, which is also why I think he deserves to be in that first round mock draft list for wings in the NBA, because he's got all the shooting. His form is really smooth. And I've only seen him play live. I've only been in against Stanford, and that was his coming off of his bum ankle. But, I mean, his ball handling was way better than I expected. I didn't think he was going to be able to create looks by himself the way he did. And he had no issue hitting pull-up mid-range jumpers with someone in his face. He didn't get to attack that greatly that game, but he was also playing off of a sprained ankle 3 nights before. And I just thought it was impressive the way he played, the way he did coming off that ankle injury. And, he's got the body for a good wing defender in the NBA. So it typically takes 3 to 4 years for a wing to really figure it out, especially in college. But he's figuring it out. It seems to be week by week. Earlier in the year, he probably was only playing 12 to 15 minutes. And then he slowly started to become more of a prominent player. And then he had that breakout game against Oregon State the first time. And ever since then, he seems to be the most important or second most important player every night.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Benedict Mathurin, as I just said, as we touched on a few minutes ago, he's been the absolute best player, number one option on this offense throughout, I would say, 80% of the season so far. But the guy that stood out to me last night and gets my best performance of the award last night is Christian Coloco. I'll admit when I was wrong, and I've been one of the biggest guys that have been hard on Christian Coloco, saying that he needs to be more. Yeah, and saying that he needs to be more productive on the offensive end. He's not efficient. He doesn't want to score. He was a bad free throw shooter. But last night, and even in the past 5 games he's been really picking his production up and proving that he deserves to be in that starting lineup and to get more minutes. I mean, last night he 9 points, 8 rebounds. He had a steal, a block, and he was 5 for 6 from the foul line. And after the game, he admitted that after last season, his quote for quote, he said his free throw shooting was terrible and that he needed to improve it. And that's just what he did. It seems like every game he seems more confident on the floor. And Sean Miller seems to know that when he came to Arizona, he's going to be kind of like a project player where he's going to be here for 4 to 5 years probably. But hopefully at that back end, when he's an older player, you can really see that talent shine through, because a guy that's big at, I believe he's 7'1" about, and just has those attributes, should really be a good player. And if he keeps this up, I mean, his minutes should really need to increase. I mean, it seems like for some reason his minutes have been around 18 to 20 the whole season. Last night he got 22, but for some reason Sean Miller doesn't want to give each big, him and Jordan Brown, that next level type of minutes into the 25, 30 minute range. But if he keeps this production up, I mean, he's going to have to be played more. And the last thing I want to touch on him is he only had 1 foul, and we're used to seeing him having 3, 4, 5 fouls every game. That's one of his biggest things that he needed to work on, was foul trouble. So what do you think of Christian Coloco in last night's game?
Well, I'm right there with you where he's been, this season and last season, he's been one of the more frustrating players. Because the talent's there, and Sean Miller knows the talent's there. And you talk about how free throw, rating improvement. Last year against Oregon, when he missed 2 at the buzzer, missed 2 free throws when they lost by 1, that was killer. And you saw it against Utah, where he hit those 2 free throw line jumpers early in the game. That might have been the only bright spot of that whole game, but he's just improving on that range in general, which is, it's good to see from a young player, a player who hasn't played that much basketball in his life in general. So season, and he talked about his minutes, and one of the reasons why he doesn't get a lot of minutes in a lot of games is because of that foul trouble. So last night, him only having 1 was probably a big indicator of how he was able to get to that 22 mark. And I'm surprised Miller didn't push him a little more, knowing that he was probably playing his best game of the season, and also his least fouling and aggressiveness in terms of fouling game of the season as well. So, he's going to be here for 2 more years at least. He's not, unless he has some crazy jump next year, he won't be going to the NBA anytime early. So, he's just got to keep adjusting and improving that mid-range jumper, because spacing in today's game is so important. So if you're push out to that free throw line, that mid-range jump shot, and if he can somehow extend to the three-point line, that is a difference between 2 or 5 close wins, honestly. So he's got a lot of tools. He just hasn't played that much to see, good performances like last night, and just hopefully he builds from there.
Yeah. He really looks like his development is coming each and every game, but an honorable mention for performance of the night last night is I want to give it to Jordan Brown. I mean, last night he had 8 points, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks. I mean, he was pretty poor from the foul line as he went 5 for 10. But I mean, those other areas, that is really good production from a backup big and playing a little over 20 minutes. I mean, it seems like Jordan Brown is always pretty much in the minutes he plays. It seems like he's always excels, but like I was just saying, it doesn't seem like Sean Miller wants to, promote or even have one guy over the other. They're about even. And it doesn't really matter who starts. I mean, the minutes. It's the same thing with Terrell Brown. I mean, Terrell Brown played 29 minutes off the bench. Kerr only played 19, and he started. So to Sean Miller, it seems like the starting and lineup doesn't really matter to him. What do you think about Jordan Brown last night?
Another one of his better games of the year. He had that. I think it might have been the other Oregon State game where he was really good too. But I think Arizona expected a lot from him come this season as a former 5-star All-American recruit transferring from Nevada, who's had a pretty good basketball program in the last 4 or 5 years as well. So I think they expected a lot out of him. He started the first couple weeks of the season, if I'm not wrong, and so he lost a little bit of time, a little bit of recognition going to the bench. And he's also coming off an ankle injury finally. Sean Miller said he's been playing through a sprained ankle for about 3 to 4 weeks, I think. And that's had to affect him a little bit. He's got a good NBA body. He's athletic for the 21-year-old like he is. And so he just has to put it together. And that seems to be the toughest part. He gets in his head a little bit. When I was at that Stanford game, anytime the ball got to him in the post, it was either going up for a shot or he was turning it over. There was no way he was going to figure out how to pass it out. So he's got to remember that not every time he touches the ball does it have to be a shot. So I think that's something he's just got to realize. And once he realizes that, it's going to cut down on a couple turnovers a game and add to about 10 more minutes a game.